brothers have made plenty of great films in their day, and more than a few that can be considered masterpieces. Fargo, Barton Fink, Miller's Crossing, A Serious Man, but I'd argue that their capital M masterpiece, their magnum opus, their finest cinematic statement, the defining work of their legendary oeuvre, is No Country for Old Men. It's a perfect film. There isn't a single frame out of place or a single line of dialogue that doesn't need to be there. It starts off dealing with familiar ideas but catches you completely by surprise. It's a ripping yarn thriller, but it also touches on deeper themes of morality and existentialism and humanity's capacity for inhumanity. There's a minimalism to the filmmaking and a naturalism to the acting that makes the whole thing feel authentic, like we're watching this terrible, violent ordeal play out for real. It requires an extraordinary amount of restraint behind the camera. The Coens don't spell anything out. They give you all the pieces to put it together for yourself. They'll cut from Carla Jean begging for her life to Anton Chigurh checking his shoes for blood on the way out of her house, and leave us to fill in the blanks. I tried to read Cormac McCarthy's book way back when, but I couldn't get into his dry, obtuse prose. He makes Hemingway look flowery.
I look at it, I read the words, or think I do, but then I get distracted, or I don't quite take it in, and I have to go back. I've been on the same 4 pages for 3 hours.
I see.
The same thing happened when I tried to read Blood Meridian and The Road, but the Coens brought just the right amount of quirk to make it accessible to a wider audience without losing its bluntness or its bleakness. No Country for Old Men is pure genre cinema, but it also subverts genre and even transcends genre. It's both a neo-Western updating the Western mythos for the modern day, and an anti-Western deconstructing that mythos and exposing the grim brutality lurking underneath the glorified bloodshed. No Country deals in very familiar, very well-worn tropes. An armed standoff in the street, a seemingly invincible hitman who will stop at nothing to catch his man. But it brings those tropes into the real world.
Call it friendo.
Pulp Fiction is fun and games, but when those scenarios play out in real life, innocent people get caught in the crossfire and die needlessly. The gun duel in No Country for Old Men isn't an exciting action spectacle. It's intense and terrifying and real. A fight to the death between 2 angry, desperate men.
Need you to drive me on out of here.
When Chigurh strangles a cop to death in just the first 3 minutes, the Coens make it clear that this movie won't glamorize violence like its fellow westerns. It'll show violence and death to be as shocking and scary as they really are. The plot revolves around the oldest, tiredest, most cliched trope in the book, a briefcase full of cash. The Coens already subverted that trope to hilarious effect in The Big Lebowski, when Walter and the Dude unwittingly swapped out a ringer for a ringer.
What the?
Have they called yet?
What the hell is this?
My dirty undies, dude.
But No Country digs deeper into the ethics of taking a bag of cash that doesn't belong to you. We've seen this particular spin on that trope. A regular guy finding a huge stash of money and facing moral and physical obstacles as he tries to keep it for himself. And everything from shallow grave to a simple plan. And there's a reason this trope works so well. It's a great what-if scenario. What would you do if you found a bag full of cash? Would you turn it over to the police? Would you try and find the rightful owner? Would you keep it? It's a test of one's morals.
What if we didn't turn it in?
It's stealing.
It's the American dream in a gym bag. He just wants to walk away from it.
The suspense sequences are Hitchcockian in their craft. The Coens use simple techniques to build tension and anticipation, like having the tracking device from the briefcase beep faster and faster as Chigurh goes from room to room at the motel. They use these simple but fiercely effective devices to have you on the edge of your seat right up to the very last second, like when Moss jumps in a river to escape his attackers. He gets out of their range, but his troubles are far from over. The dog swims after him and slowly gains on him in a meticulously cut shot-reverse-shot sequence. Then he has to get his wet gun ready to fire before the dog swims ashore, shakes off, and pounces on it. It's masterful action filmmaking, and the Coens probably wouldn't even consider themselves action directors. But here's the really impressive thing. After building up all that suspense, getting you on the razor's edge as Chigurh slowly but surely closes in on Moss, the Coens refuse to pay it off. The balls to make a movie so full of suspense and intrigue and mystery, a tense cat and mouse chase, only to have the mouse killed off screen by an unrelated cat.
Call the police. Llama till la policía.
You have to be world-class filmmakers to pull that off. Of course they pissed a few people off, but the Coens definitely fucking pulled it off. The two unsung heroes of the Coen brothers filmography, composer Carter Burwell and cinematographer Roger Deakins, do some of their best work in No Country for Old Men. Deakins achieves the same effect with the vast rolling deserts of Texas and Mexico that he did with the snow-covered Midwestern towns of Fargo, isolating these characters in a barren wasteland of bad choices and stunning landscapes. There isn't much actual music on the soundtrack of No Country. Burwell uses less score, more ambient sound design to give his audience the chills. In some of the film's tensest moments, he makes really effective use of silence, because the absence of sound is often more powerful than anything you could do with sound. When it's used well, like in No Country for Old Men or Raging Bull or 2001, silence can be breathtaking. Tom Bell is a traditional hero, a good, honest lawman, not a bad bone in his body, while Chigurh is a traditional villain, pure evil, with no redeeming qualities or even any emotion in his eyes. Javier Bardem's Oscar-winning portrayal of this cold-blooded killer is often cited by psychologists and psychology professors as one of the most accurate on-screen portrayals of a psychopath. But our main POV character, Llewellyn Moss, is a morally grey anti-hero pitched somewhere in the middle. He's not particularly good or particularly bad. He's just a regular guy who made a bad decision and pays dearly for it. We understand why he takes that money, even if it gets him in way over his head. He's the quintessential wrong guy in the wrong place at the wrong time. Moss goes to such extreme lengths to stay one step ahead of Chigurh, seemingly thinks of everything and takes every possible precaution, and still slips up, that you start to wonder, is any amount of money worth this? He's burning through a lot of the cash just to keep out of Chigurh's reach. He has to get a second motel room, he makes his taxi driver keep driving him around to avoid detection, and he can only keep doing that for so long before he either runs out of money, making the whole thing moot, or makes a fatal mistake and gets himself killed, which would also make the whole thing moot. The best crime stories are cautionary tales, warning you that no matter how tempting a bag of cash or a mafioso lifestyle or a vigilante crusade might be, don't do it, because it can only end a couple of ways, and none of them are good. The character of Ed Tom serves to contrast the myths of the Wild West with the horrors of modern American crime. He says that in the Old West, many lawmen weren't even armed. A lot of those famous gunslingers didn't carry guns, whereas in present-day America, gun violence is rampant.
Some of the old-time sheriffs never even wore a gun. A lot of folks find that hard to believe. Jim Scarborough never carried one. That's the younger Jim. Gaston Boykins wouldn't wear one up in Comanche County.
Today's America, or even the early 80s America depicted in No Country for Old Men, is actually closer to the lawless hellscape of Old Western legends than what the Old West was actually like. In his opening voiceover, Ed Tom wonders how those old-timers would have handled modern-day crimes.
You can't help but compare yourself against the old-timers. Can't help but wonder how they'd have operated these times.
What would happen if Bass Reeves was sent to investigate the Manson murders? What would happen if Wyatt Earp was called out to Columbine? He tells a story about a guy who murdered a teenage girl and got the electric chair, and if he hadn't gotten the electric chair, he would have killed again. And Ed Tom just doesn't understand it.
Said he knew he was going to hell. Be there in about 15 minutes. I don't know what to make of that.
Throughout the film, we'll see that he has no shortage of gruesome, grisly anecdotes like this. Tales of senseless violence, just as disturbing as that one. He mentions a couple that would rent a room to elderly people, murder them, bury them in the back garden, and then cash their social security checks. And if that wasn't bad enough, they would torture these old folks, just for shits and gigs, before killing them. After a career of dealing with horrific crimes like this, Ed Tom is scared of going out into a world where any given dispatch could bring him face to face with someone, or something like Anton Chigurh.
I feel overmatched.
Chigurh serves to embody the kind of senseless violence that Ed Tom is so bitter about, that he's been witnessing his whole career. Chigurh is that guy who killed a teenager and wanted to do it again. He's that couple who tortured old people before slaughtering them. He is violence itself. He shows up, fucks everything up, leaves everyone hurt and traumatized and grieving, and then just fucks off. At the end of the movie, after leaving behind a bloody path of destruction, Chigurh disappears without a trace.
Take it in. You didn't see me. I was already gone.
Yes, sir.
There's a recurring theme of the hunter becoming the hunted. Moss starts off hunting pronghorns, and Woody Harrelson starts off hunting moss, and they both end up being hunted by Chigurh. It's an ironic, roundabout way to say, live by the sword, die by the sword. Live by the hunt, die by the hunt. But No Country for Old Men isn't just about the morality of violence and thievery. At its core, it digs into the tug-of-war of destiny versus self-determination. Are we in control of our lives, or is our fate decided for us by powers beyond our comprehension? Carla Jean tells Chigurh, you don't have to do this. You don't have to pull that trigger. You don't have to kill me.
You don't have to do this.
People always say the same thing.
What did I say?
They say you don't have to do this.
He claims it's up to the Coen, but Carla Jean is the first of his many victims to push back against that coin flip shtick. The Coen don't have no say, you do. The Coen isn't making the decision to end another human being's life, he is. It seems like there might be a teeny tiny glimmer of humanity in Sugar. He likes being able to blame the Coen gods, because then he doesn't have to claim responsibility for taking a human life. But then he kills Carla Jean, and his only concern is whether his shoes are dirty. So clearly he's just a monster. Being confronted with logic didn't inspire a change of heart, it just made him double down on his own twisted code.
Call it.
The Coen don't have no say. It's just you.
Seconds later, he gets hit by a car, which seems like karmic justice, cosmically punishing this a-hole for all the pain he's inflicted on other people. But he survives the crash. It's a bit of mixed messaging, but that's only because the world keeps sending us mixed messages, and the Coens are reflecting that. The whole point of stories and religion and even science is that we don't understand the world we live in, and we're desperately trying to make sense of it by introducing a sense of order and organization, and that's against the nature of reality. Ultimately, the world keeps turning with no regard for human desires or human concerns or our innately human sense of justice. The universe doesn't care about right or wrong, it's all random. It's all chaos. But at the same time, your future is inextricably tied to your past actions. Everything that happens in No Country for Old Men feels terrifyingly inevitable, like there was no other way this could pan out. But the hell that Moss goes through is a result of his own recklessness. If he had left that money well enough alone, he would have been absolutely fine. Surprisingly, No Country for Old Men shares a few superficial similarities with Raising Arizona. Llewellyn Moss, much like Hy McDonough, is the southern everyman who resorts to a life of crime when doing things the right way gets him nowhere. Sugar is like a non-comedic version of Leonard Smalls, the bounty hunter, the unstoppable killing machine, almost like the Shape from Halloween. They represent all that's unjust in the world, everything that we're powerless to protect ourselves from. But the film's message, its thesis, if you will, is very much in conversation with Fargo. Ed Tom grapples with the same moral quandary as Marge Gunderson. What kind of a world are we living in that people are committing these violent atrocities against their fellow human beings? Is it even worth protecting the rule of law when people like Anton Chigurh and Guy Air Grimsrud are out there flagrantly flouting it and killing whoever they feel like?
And for what? For a little bit of money.
No Country for Old Men might be the Coens' most nihilistic film. Fargo ends with Marge worrying about the world she's bringing her baby into, but the baby at least represents the possibility of a hopeful future. At the end of No Country, Ed Tom retires. He gives up the fight because he's increasingly disturbed by his opposition. The last good cop quits, Chigurh gets away with it, and evil wins. While No Country for Old Men was universally lauded by critics, some casual moviegoers were a bit miffed by the third act's steadfast refusal to pay off the build-up of the first two. There's no climactic showdown between Moss and Chigurh. Instead, the film ends with an old man describing not one but two dreams he had. But those dreams speak to something so much deeper than a generic, formulaic, climactic fight would have. Both of Ed Tom's dreams revolve around his father and touch on his nostalgia for the old ways and his fear of the changing world. His dad represents the traditions he's familiar with and the safety of a parent's love and protection. He knows his dad is going to build a campfire to keep them warm.
And in the dream I knew that he was going on ahead. He's fixing to make a fire somewhere out there in all that dark and all that cold.
When he woke up, he realized that was just a dream and remembered that he doesn't have his dad to rely on anymore. His dad died years ago and he no longer has that safety net. He's all alone in a cruel, ever-evolving world he doesn't recognize or understand anymore. Talk about profound. But sure, call it boring, call it a bad ending, expose your ignorance and idiocy to the rest of us.
And then I woke up.
Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you liked the video. Remember to like and subscribe and click on the little bell. And also seize the day and call your mom and be kind to yourself.